Okay, so we're going to move forward here. Josh. So this one's working pretty well. I got your print as well. Um, so I'm trying to find a good spot for it here. Actually, we can do. There we go. I think this is working pretty well. To me, it's reading very well. Yeah, a couple of little things like, we're kind of losing a little bit of C3PO and R2. I'm sorry, more C3PO into these colors on the wall. And so I wonder if we could bring him out somehow, maybe some highlights on his arm or something. And it feels a little awkward to me that so much of this lower stuff is obscured. Like we're kind of blocking, uh, Luke and Obi-Wan's, so much of them, but then we got so much of the sky exposed here. So I consider trimming that a little bit. And I think you actually did on the final, if I'm not mistaken. It's a slightly different layout there, but I think I would almost want to feel it pulled up just a touch so we get a little bit more of that scene on the lower side here. But I think it's actually still working pretty well. I think it's got that computer art feel, and a lot of that is because of stuff like this. And so again, if you probably heard me say this with other people's stuff, just instead of going to uniform, doing something like that, really kind of do this with multiples. Yeah, just doing little things like that really kind of make it feel a little bit more like not traditional, but like a little bit more polished. Like, because when you just got these like flat chopped off pieces, that feels really computer generated. And so I think you can still work a little bit with that to get that. You also got some faceted spots that I think could be cleared up a little bit. Like if we click here on this one, like that anchor point there, and like all of these anchor points are just kind of solid anchor points. And I wonder if just by doing that, pulling it out a little bit, we would get a little bit of a softer feel to it, which I don't know why. Getting that white gap in there now, but just sort of rounding some of that off would really kind of help a little bit. It's going for a specific style, and I get that, but I think that you could do a little bit of that stuff, and it would really, really help. And that even just like some stuff like this. So those will be my biggest comments. I see that you're going for a very specific flat tone, like you got the flats and not a lot of shadows. And I think there are parts of that where that's helping, and parts of that where that's hurting. And I think like stuff like how C3PO's sort of blending into the background and stuff like that. I think that's where it's hurting. But so just stuff like could you do a gray shadow under the arm here and really kind of give it a little bit more depth. Overall, it's looking pretty good though. I also think that there's a little bit of what I would call a coincidental line happening. This line that goes straight down, and it seems to be meeting right at C3PO's arm there. And so that feels like it's connected for some reason because it's such a coincidence that it's hitting like right there where his arm splits. So I think maybe pulling him over to one side or pulling him a little further forward, moving some of this background around a little bit. You also kind of get some weirdness happening here to me. I would almost want to fill that overlap behind the guy, or something like that. I don't know, just a little bit of slight shifting, and it's really messing with my head that I can't see Luke's face. So I would want to make this a little bit more transparent. I don't know what we get as an option. Maybe something a little bit more than that. Or you could do that and then get like some highlights on here for reflection or something like that. But that's just my 2 cents on that. Overall, it's very good. So let's look. I think I'm going to go with this one. I would say use this as your submission use this one as a doodle. And so when we look at this one, I actually think it looks pretty good, especially as a t-shirt design. I like the style. I like that it's sketchy. Again, very interesting that we're getting a lot of this stuff that has so these very solid lines instead of so I just wonder what would happen if I grabbed everything here and made everything this isn't really doing what we wanted to do, but you just it didn't really work, did it? Anyway, so we'll leave it like it is, but like if just stuff like this was set to huh. Oh yeah, so it all has to be basic, and then we can have that, and then we can go to a larger size. So like what would that do to it? I mean, I don't know if it's necessary, but you're using such small lines. I agree with people's critique that it would be nice to be able to read this a little bit better, and so I wonder if you just grab this, get rid of that. And just make this bigger. So even if it's just like that, like I think that would help on a t-shirt. So I don't know, just playing around with it, but overall I think that style-wise is looking really good. I like the sort of crazy bug eyes, the teeth, the heart-shaped nose. All that's looking pretty good. So it's weird because I think it's intentionally looking like a sketch, and so that makes it feel unfinished. But I think it was intentional, and so I think that that's part of the design. So I think that it's actually working pretty well in that regard. So think about this of like, okay, so now what if we decided that this is what we wanted to do, and you wanted this on a blue t-shirt. Sorry. Okay, so we put this on a blue background. So here's what we're going to get is this sort of like blue popping through. And so the question is that what you want, or do you want parts of this in here to be white? My guess is that you want parts of that to be white, or you want it to always be on a slightly lighter background. Because even if you do something like that, that's actually still feeling pretty good. But then once you start getting in here in these darker colors, it gets a little more difficult to make out. So like that actually feels pretty good to me, somewhere in this range. But I would consider that, like, would you want to put white in there and put white in there and try putting it on a different colored background. That way you make sure that you're showing what you want to show, not just what is kind of coming out of the program. Okay, Meyer. See it, can't see you. I think the feedback you got in class is actually pretty solid, so I would run with that. I think the telling thing is that people were seeing this as not as another arm, and so I think part of that is the pose. Like the character doesn't really feel like a shoulder is coming up or it's having to shift his weight. I think style-wise, it's got a very specific style. It feels kind of simple to me. So I would really be interested to see if you could. Oh, okay. So you're using the. I see what's going on there. Um, I would be interested to see if you could, clean up a little bit of this. So stuff like, the character's pose is sort of straight on, shoulders are really wide. I'm not really sure that arm feels like it's kind of going into the wrong direction, and so just playing with that to see um, what's how to polish that up and make that feel a little cleaner. Um, in terms of like a more polished illustration. So let me go ahead and move on. Um, sorry, that was my wife. Let me text her really quick. Okay, so we're going to look at this one. This is Nathan. Again, I think you got the best feedback on in the critique. It's kind of hard to tell what's happening with the weapons. That this is a double-bladed one, so I actually thought that this was part of the lightsaber. Okay, and that and I kind of missed the time bomb. I think that some of the stuff in the background also could use some work. So I think you got the best critique that you're going to get. Or no, you didn't get the best critique. You got good critique during the feedback. So I think that's probably what I base most of your revisions on. What's this again, Patrick? Okay. So this is the revised version, and I will be honest, there's not much of anything I could really add to this. Looking at it now, kind of distanced from it a little bit more, the hat and the ear bleed straight into the background, and I would wonder if just a real subtle highlight to kind of bring some of that out. That would be the only possible thing I could say to add to this. But I think that this is reading very well as an ebook cover, so I like it quite a bit. So yeah, don't have a lot more to add to that. You worked a long time trying to get this polished up, and the illustration just looks great. So no, I don't want to change it. And we'll let's look at them both and see what the difference is. Okay, so this is for the shirt. This is for the print. You're right, it is reading a little bit more clearly in here. So I think the things that you got in the feedback is also going to be helpful. I think breaking this character out a little bit more. I would almost make him bigger, because if you look at the comparison of these sizes, I think we could do that. Like if you just grabbed everything in IMP3. Come on. Scaled it up, made it more like that. IMP2. Classic IMP. Move them up a little bit more toward the door. So I wonder if you could just do something a little bit more like that to really kind of emphasize some of this. And I kind of like this layout a little bit more. Maybe IMP2 we would push over this way just a touch. And then really beat this guy up a little bit more. Bandages, blood, like a lot of stuff. Like just really beat that up more. Otherwise, I actually think this is working pretty well, but I think just kind of playing with the foreshortening a little bit more would really help kind of beef that up. But all the little details, I think, helped a lot from the critique, so I would sort of focus in on those. So you can kind of flip back and forth here and see the details. I think just playing with it a little bit like that really would be helpful. So, okay. Let's see if there's any more. I don't think there are. Nope. Okay, cool. So hopefully that gives everybody enough to work with. I will be entering the grades very soon, and let me know if you have any questions. Bye.